I may do it, I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country.
Is it too late, though? Do you think it's too late to now?
Really, nothing's too late.
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said it's very late, you know? A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Oh, man. What is going on in the world right now? If you haven't heard, President Trump had U.S. military go into Iran with their bunker busters to break up their nuclear plants. There were 3 separate sites that were successfully hit in Iran, and you have a lot of mixed responses coming out. Now, you have people on both sides of the aisles, Democrat as well as Republican, citizens as well as elected officials, that are saying they do not agree with this. President Trump ran specifically on not starting any new wars, and now he has, I don't know if it's knowingly or unknowingly, but possibly tossed us into another quote-unquote endless war in the Middle East. Some people are supporting the bombing of the plants in Iran, while others aren't. And real quick, is it Iran or Iran or Iraq or Iraq? Because, in the early 2000s, I heard it being pronounced one way. Now, about 20 years later, these are whole new countries. I don't know. Let me know in the comments section. Now, I am seeing a lot of people saying that they regret casting their vote for Donald Trump back in November. But to that, I would say, who was the alternative? Would you have rather have had the cackling hyena in office? But I will say, being fair, that I voted for Trump because he said that he would not be entering any new wars. And this move, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I also don't know all the ins and outs of what's going on. I don't know for how many years that Iran's been a problem and that the U.S. has been saying that they do not want Iran having any sorts of nuclear weapons.
And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran.
But because it's Donald Trump now going in and getting the job done, all these people have something to say about it, and we're going to get to some of it.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace.
These were the comments immediately following the bombing of the nuclear plants in Iran by Israel's Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. Personally, what's going on in the Middle East is far out of my realm of understanding. These people have been fighting since biblical times, and they're going to continue fighting every 20 years or so. There is a new war in the Middle East, and they're looking for their American alliance to help them. And I'm not the biggest fan of that. But I saw what people had to say about what the prime minister of Israel said, and there were mixed reviews. There were some people saying he was touting the strength and power of America, President Trump, and the U.S. military. And there were other people saying that he was throwing America under the bus. He wanted Iran and all of their allies to know that America was responsible for the attack. Even if it was on behalf of Israel, he is letting them know it was not the IDF, it was all the USA military. After the attack was successfully carried out, President Trump took to his Truth Social platform where he posted, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspaces. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Now, a lot of people had a big problem with his line, his second to last sentence there in all caps. Now is the time for peace. People were saying after going to bomb Iran without giving Congress any type of heads up, any type of permission from Congress, because I guess that they believe that they are the ones who are solely allowed to declare war, which I believe to a certain degree they are, and we'll get to the War Powers Act, but let's get to what some of these politicians, on the left particularly, had to say about President Trump bombing these nuclear sites.
I go back in on Monday. You could have hollered at us on Monday. If you truly felt like there was something, like, there is nothing that they will say that will make me believe that this action needed to take place, and it needed to take place without the consultation of the Congress. Legitimately, everything that he does is like against the law. Like, he just breaks the law. And I know that there are some people that think that I just say this stuff because I'm a Democrat, and I can tell you, I have my own issues with my own party.
Like not knowing what a woman is. But anyway, this woman, I guess before she got to Congress, was a lawyer. So she's supposed to know the law. And she's saying that he should have hollered at her on Monday. And I think that President Trump doesn't want to go through any type of Congress or anything like that, or go through a chain of command if he doesn't have to, because he knows that not only are there possible leaks in his own inner circle, but there are definitely leaks in Congress that if they would have had, if the Trump administration, I think, would have had to go through Congress, you would have had leaks, moles, rats running to people in Iran to tell them, hey, there's an attack coming. You got to get out of there.
I'm not saying these things because I'm a Democrat. I'm saying these things because I am a black woman in America who just happens to be educated enough to know what the law is. And I can tell you that while some people want to disparage my credibility and act as if I don't know what I'm talking about, I can absolutely guarantee to you that if you Google war and authority and constitution, you're going to see Congress. And this thing that's like on my chest tells you that I am a member of Congress.
Here on PolitiFact, okay, this is, as far as I know, a left-leaning outlet. Did Trump violate War Powers Act by bombing Iran nuclear sites? Okay, and this is the B-2 bomber. They used a few of those to drop the bunker busters. Let's hear what they got. Let's see what they got to say. I'm just gonna bounce around in the article. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution assigns Congress the right to declare war. But the last time Congress declared war was at the beginning of World War II. Since then, presidents have generally initiated military action using their constitutionally granted powers as commander-in-chief without an official declaration of power. All right, and I had to write this down. Since then, America has bombed Serbia, Libya, Somalia, and Yemen since World War II, with conflicts with countries including Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf, Afghanistan, and Iraq. All of those places were attacked during conflicts with those other countries without congressional approval. It wasn't a problem then, and these are including Presidents Obama, Joe Biden, Clinton, that Democrats didn't have a problem with. All right, Bush Jr., I believe, was during that time, and President Trump the first time. The resolution required that, and this is the War Powers Act or War Powers Resolution. In the absence of a declaration of war, the president must report to Congress within 48 hours of introducing armed forces into hostilities and must terminate the use of U.S. armed forces within 60 days unless Congress permits otherwise. Okay, so he has 48 hours to report to them what's going on, which he did. All right, he reported to them as they were leaving the area. All right, so he had 48 hours, and then he has 60 days to get some sort of allowance from Congress. If approval is not granted and the president deems it an emergency, then an additional 90 days are granted for ending operations. So he had to notify them within 48 hours, which he did, and then he has 90 days, essentially, if he deems it a state of emergency, which he did, he has 90 days to, get everybody out of there or whatever it is. I don't see what they're saying President Trump has broken. Ultimately, congressional reaction is determined largely by the majority party, who runs the House of Representatives as well as the Senate right now is Republicans. So I'm guessing that even if they had to wait for the clearance that Jasmine Crockett was saying, holla at her on Monday, that I'm thinking he would have still gotten clearance. So with Republican control of both chambers until at least 2026, Janda doesn't envision Congress restricting Trump's authority anytime soon. All this is Democrats getting up on the internet and crying about stuff that they know they can't change. Okay, they know that he is following the law because he understands that what he went through the last, 8 years, that he cannot even have something out of line a little bit because, as you see, when he does things by the book, they still want to impeach the man. I don't have too much more to go, but if you are enjoying the video, please drop a like, join in on the conversation with a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
To know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic.
This is one of those times where politicians sound like hypocrites, because Mark Kelly is right. Presidents should get congressional approval, but there have been a bunch of presidents who have ordered strikes without congressional approval. Barack Obama did it against Libya. Joe Biden ordered strikes in Iraq and Syria without congressional approval. Bill Clinton did it to Kosovo, I think you pronounce it. So presidents ordering military action without congressional approval has become pretty routine. So is it always a thing when they do it? I'm just asking. I don't know.
No.
If you've been rocking with this channel for a while, I appreciate you, but I'm not the biggest Leonard Charlemagne fan. All right, but he's making sense right here. Shout out to him and the whole Breakfast Club, but he's making sense. There is no outrage when all of these other presidents have done the same thing. Okay, they've used their power as the executive in chief to prevent or protect America from some sort of danger, and there's been no type of outcry. Now, President Trump does the same thing, and people are losing their minds. And I'm not saying I agree with him 100% for intervening in it. I'm not. But I have to understand he's the president. He's privy to a lot more information than I am. I couldn't even point to some of these places, Qatar and Iran and all that. I couldn't even point to them on a map. Honestly, You know, I know that they got beef with people over there on the same side of the map as them, though. You know, Iran actively doesn't get along with Saudi Arabia. I believe they don't get along with the UAE. In closing, 2025 spring and summer has been one to remember. I mean, it seems like every few weeks there is a new group that I guess is being marginalized, and the people on the left feel the need to stand up for them. You know, never mind Americans in America, the left could care less about those people. As you can see by this picture, I thought it was pretty funny. In March, it was all about the Ukrainians. April, it went to the Palestinians. May, it's all about the Mexicans and telling people to know their rights and to prevent being deported and to resist ICE. And then now as we come into June, it's all about Iran. These people are just flip-flopping. They do whatever the idiot box tells them to do. All right, if the idiot box tells them tomorrow they all need to line up at the pier, booty butt naked, and jump in to the river one at a time, there's no doubt in my mind that there will be a news station down there capturing these people going and jumping into the water because the TV said so. And please, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, and join in and let me know what you're thinking in the comment section. What do you think about all of this? Do you believe that this was a bad move for President Trump to do? Getting involved in the Israel and Iran, Palestine, Middle Eastern conflicts, stuff that didn't have to do with America. He ran his election, his whole election campaign on no new wars. You know, he hasn't figured out the Ukraine-Russia war, which he said would be over in what, like a week or a month? Who knows? We may have entered into another endless war in the Middle East. People thought that President Trump would not get involved with anything, and he's pretty much given a big middle finger to everyone that elected him. He wanted to be known as the president of peace when it was all said and done, and he shot himself in the foot figuratively with this move because a lot of people don't see anything coming from this but more conflict. Or do you think that the media is hyping it up? You have some people in Congress that honestly don't understand how the laws and how the Constitution actually works. President Trump was within his presidential power to make the move that he did, to do what he thought or thinks is in the best interest of America. And that was for Iran, like he's been saying, to not have any nuclear weapons. He's even gone as far as saying they do not need a regime change per se. He just does not want them having any nuclear weapons. My opinion is Trump wants to keep the U.S. safe. And a lot of people are, you know, getting all up and angry about it until a few days go by and it's up and it's just on to the next story. You know, I think that when we look back, as we have looked back over the last few years, a lot of the things that President Trump has said has been proven to be true. So I think that in a little bit of time, and it usually doesn't take much time, the truth will come out that perhaps Iran was within a few months of completing any nuclear weapons that they were working on. And, you know, the government and the intelligence agencies, they have a lot more information than we have at this present time. And that's what they were going off of. Either way, I'm interested to know whatever you're thinking in the comments section. Till the next video, y'all please be safe. And I'm going to go ahead and keep on saying it, baby. Stay wavy.